You'll be staggered to see another stag in my workshop, and it's not mine unfortunately, but enjoy the video. I know you're all excited. I know you're all excited, but before we get into the video, can you check you're subscribed if you're not? Why ever not? Click the dingy bell thing too, because it notifies you of new content like this. If you fancy contacting me, then it's churchhouseclassics, and that's all one word, @gmail.com. And to support the channel, there's a PayPal me link scrolling down here, and all donations are very gratefully received. Enjoy the video. Looks like someone's sent out for Batman. Nice sunny day today, look at that. Nice spring shadow. Still February. Anyway, onto the Stag. You'll recognise this car. This car has been in my workshop before. It's the one that we did the gearbox and the clutch on last year. And in fact, I've still got your old gearbox. It's no good for anything. But this is the one that was badly overhauled. Anyway, the car's back in, because it's kind of been through the winter, and we've got a couple of teething issues really just to sort out before we get into the season again. Notice you're missing your clips over the screen rubber. Anyway, so what have we got on the job list? Clutch hydraulics. The clutch pedal is biting too low. The customer, although I took out a lot of the thickness of the carpet was like 1 inch thick, is still biting too low for the customer. My car doesn't bite anywhere near as low as this, and I've got a new clutch on mine as well. The difference is I put my new clutch in about 2016, so I suspect the part supply has changed. We'll go into the process that I've got where I might be able to improve the clutch pedal feel. Reverse light switch, there's a short somewhere, because just turn the ignition on and it pops the main ignition #1 fuse. Headlights need adjusting. Right hand exhaust is blowing. The carbs, he reckons, are sticking and the idle speed is very high. Now I suspect what's happening there is the choke module is sticking. We'll have a look at that in a second. And there's all the bits that I've ordered. Look at that. So we have got some bits. If we go into the boot of the car. Hello. Customer ordered this because he wanted a new, because we're going to put a new master on. He ordered a new reservoir. These, by the way, are very slightly too large to go through the standard clip. He also bought a braided hose, which is fine. That's not a problem. I can pop those two on. And then we got a new, and this is a James Paddock, and sorry, that's a master cylinder. This is a James Paddock long throw slave cylinder. I'll lob the part number. In fact, I've got the part number over here. The part number is this improved travel cylinder, and it's so Tango Kilo Charlie 2786 from James Paddock. And they provide that. I don't know what the difference is. It's probably a narrower bore to allow more displacement when you push the clutch pedal down. It should mean that we're able to get this thing to behave itself. Now, I've got an MOT booked tomorrow. What I'll probably do is I'll do all the clutch stuff tomorrow. I want to sort the electrical issues out. I want to sort the headlight aim out, and I want to sort the carburetors out today. Now, customer has changed the set of plugs. The plugs were running incredibly rich. And I suspect I know what the issue is going to be, but let's go through it. Before I do the carburetors, I need to do the exhaust leak. It just suddenly dawned on me. So for that, and because I'm doing the clutch hydraulics as well, I'm breaking out the ramp. So these came from CJ Autos, widely advertised in the UK. There we are, CJ Autos upside down. I've had these for years, and they are so flipping useful, because you drive the car onto a flat and then you pump them up, and it gets the car that high up in the air that I'll probably need to put the bonnet down because they go up higher than that. Right, so this is really, I'm a bit out of breath, I've been lugging stuff around. So let me just bring the bonnet down. Bonnet's down, because I can put that back up again once I'm there. And you get a very simple hydraulic pump. The WD-40 is just to lubricate the threads up on the unions, because I disconnect it all when it's stashed away and not in use. You don't see me pumping, you can watch the car rising. There we are, like that. Oh. Real time, folks. No illusion. I might need to pump his tyres up. His tyres are a little bit on the flat side here. Now we've got this high, you use the helpfully provided prong, because you want to put your hands in there to flip the lock over on each side. You'll see how the lock works in a second. You really don't want your hands in there until they're locked off. That will make dropping a Range Rover onto your hand seem like small fry. Now what you'll see is that blue catch will drop down in a second behind the metal ring. As soon as it's done that, you release the pressure and it locks. That is now locked off. I could, if I wanted to, if I so desired, I could now take the pump off and the ramps are going to stay in a locked up position. But they're not as convenient as a 4-post lift, but they're more flexible because I can put them where I need them to be. And you can see we've got the car at a jaunty angle now. Now, will the bonnet actually go up? Was I wise to drop the bonnet? Or it will just about. There's a millimetre or so in it. Now, your bonnet doesn't lock in position very nicely, sir. I'll be honest. There we are, it does now. I don't want that coming crashing down. Really don't want that coming crashing down. But yeah, we just about got enough headroom up there. And this is the zip ties hanging from the ceiling, so I use these in various applications. Tend to put them up there when I need them to hold the bonnet open when I set the bonnet prop out of the way, mainly on Land Rover products. So I'm going to let everything cool down now, and I can do the exhaust manifold. That'll be why the exhaust is blowing then. Gasket is absolutely fallen apart and all the internals have disappeared. So it looks like it started to blow and then it's consumed itself and just the blow's got worse and worse and worse. I don't like this style of gasket. I got that style of gasket to go back on again, which I'm going to put some gasket paste on each side of and get it back together again. Right, here we go. I think this is root cause. This downpipe here, this flange is nowhere near flat, not even slightly. I'm going to seal it up, but ultimately we need another downpipe here. I don't know if you can see, there's a high point here, there's a low point there. There's an enormous amount of rust and corrosion around this area, so I think all I can really do is to pack out this side with an exhaust paste, put a new gasket in there, bolt it up. I don't think I'll even be able to clean that up with a flap disc. It's just, the flange has gone. Some cracks in the weld around there as well. So when you get stuff like this, you just kind of, because you can see it starts to blow here. That's where it starts to blow, then it's circled its way out, then it's gone out into a low point there. So it was actually blown on this side. So I guess that then it kept going round until it got to there. By that point, you see, the gasket was like that. What's it like that? I'll look at my picture again. There's definite low point there. That's spectacularly useless. I haven't got another one. Oh, it's a pain in the backside. You can see there that it was blowing on that edge there. So that's probably went that way round, and that's how it started to blow. So I was right. No, I said it was that way round, and I was 90 degrees out. It's a shambles. So I've ground the surface flat. I've heated it up with a map gun, and I've tried to give it a flat surface for the gasket to sit on. It will need plenty of exhaust paste on this side. There's no guarantees it won't burn through again, but if it does burn through, it's another downpipe. A downpipe for a Stag is over 100 quid. You can't get me mild steel anymore. Fucking hell. Anyway, so I'm going to trial fit that. If it does trial fit, then loads and loads and loads of exhaust assembly paste, and then a copper gasket. We might stand a fighting chance. That's still warm. But when I did it the first time round, that gasket, you could have got, oh, that is warm. I could have got my dick between the gasket and the mating face, the mating flange, in a couple of places, and that's no bragging there, folks. And I think the problem is that when this goes on, although that stub goes up inside the exhaust downpipe, the exhaust manifold, there's enough of a gap there and enough unevenness on that flange that it would cause a problem. And I think the reason why we've got a problem with the flange is someone has been busy there welding a flange back onto it. I don't know what's been going on there. They've transferred too much heat into the flange. I'll just see how many more times I can get away with saying flange before the sensors kind of say, ah, you said flange too many times. Dirty bastard. Anyway, I think now I stand a fighting chance. So I'm going to spray some zinc primer, weld-through primer on that, just to protect it, protect the surface. And then when that's gone off, a load of Hylamar. And when that's gone off, gasket, put it back on, see if it sealed it up. Right, that's painted. Waiting for that all to go off. And I'll stick some of the Hylamar, excessive amounts of the Hylamar, around on the downpipe side, and leave the upper face nice and flat against the underside of the exhaust manifold, which is good anyway. Don't actually have a problem with that at all. And then we got onto a reverse light switch. So the problem with this is, when you turn the ignition on, the main battery control fuse goes boop. And the reason for that is, the loom's on the floor now, but when I checked continuity to earth, so there's nice earth here onto the body, used the positive terminal, connected onto one of the bullet connectors, it went straight to earth. So there is a failure, not in the loom, but there's a failure in the actual switch itself. I don't know what's happened to it. Now, if I go in here, let's bring Torchy McTorchface with me. The car's up on the ramp at the moment. Probably do low there because it is a pain getting in and out of this thing. Right, light on. If we go in, you could just about see in this sort of area, that's the reverse light switch. Well, that's not very helpful, is it? I've been in underneath, and even with, I believe, even with the left-hand pipe off, my dinner plate hands are not going to get up there in order to unscrew that. I'll give it a go. So I'm going to take the pipe off now and see if I can't get up there. The alternative is either lower the tail end of the gearbox down, which is a horrific amount of work, prop shaft off, both front pipes off, or one front pipe's off already. I'd really want, because of the proximity of the fan to the radiator, I'd really want the rad out. I could probably get away with it if I put a bloody great big lump of steel between the fan and the radiator, because I'm not going to go down very far, and obviously the pivot point is here. So the back end of the gearbox is going to go down quite a lot before that touches the fan. But even so, not my car. Not prepared to risk that. And then with that down, I might just be able to access it. Well, it passed its MOT. Yay! Of course it passed its MOT. Right, Nice clean sheet too as well. We do like a clean sheet in this workshop. Now, clutch hydraulics next. There is the clutch slave cylinder. This chappy here, you can see already I've had to pack it out by a couple of washers. Now the important thing, if you're going to pack it out, you need to make sure that the release bearing is not rammed up hard against the pressure plate, because if it is, you're going to wear both out really quickly. So all I really need to do here with this, I'm going to drain the system down. I'm not going to video it because it's just too much shit for me to edit out. Drain the system down, undo the 2 bolts, pinch bolts holding the slave, undo the joining union, remove the slave. Make sense? Should do. On the right here, I've got the original Stag slave cylinder, and on the left, I've got the long throw slave cylinder that comes from James Paddock's. Now you can see they're exactly the same dimensions, length and diameter and so forth. But when you look at the bore, 2.5 centimetres or 25 millimetres and 21 centimetres. Oh no, sorry, when we're talking about 22.5. So this one is 27, nearly 28 millimetres. This one is 22 millimetres. So you're going to need less fluid to push that a greater distance, levers in motion. So I'm going to pop this chappy straight on. Nicely done. I found a difference. On this original Stag slave cylinder, you can see that that face is nicely machined, as is that face. On our replacement slave cylinder, only the forward face is machined and not the rearmost face. Now this is going to present us not with an issue, but if you're not used to putting these things on, then you might not fully understand the impact of putting it the wrong side of the engine plate. Lights. Here we've got the engine plate. Your clutch slave cylinder needs to go from the gearbox side through. So we're actually putting it on the non-machined face against the gearbox cover. I've seen so many of these things where the slave is put that side, yep, and then people extend the push rod to accommodate the fact that they've lost 1.5 centimetres because they put it the wrong side of the engine plate. So just bear that in mind, that a non-machined face is going to go against the engine plate. I think we'll be all right. We'll see. Now the other thing, of course, you need to be sure of is that the bleed nipple is at the top and not at the bottom for now. And there it is, installed on the correct side, i.e. the gearbox side of the engine plate. So yeah, and that then is mounted onto the middle hole on the fork. You can see we've got a fair amount of slack going on here. So it's going to be a case now of connecting up the hydraulics and bleeding it through. Master's in. The reservoir came from Robsport, I believe. It's just a little bit too fat for the clip, but we'll be able to work around that by putting a longer bolt in there to hold the reservoir nice and steady. And then my customer also supplied a nice braided hose. Now this is not a Goodrich hose, this is just a generic kind of braided hose with 2 adapters on the end of it. The issue I've got is gravity. There is a terminal, because we're a Mark 1 Stag, there is a terminal post down here on the tip of my finger. There is a steering arm, there is the exhaust. I cannot get that thing to route correctly, avoiding those 3 items. I put the original pipe on and it falls into place. Literally. Straight on. No problems. So this is, unfortunately, this is another one of those upgrades. And the supplier, absolutely without any shadow of a doubt, will say, oh yeah, you just need to put P-clips and stuff on. Well, I don't with the original one. Be careful of shiny stuff, folks. Be careful of shiny stuff. Right, the easiest way to gain access to the things I want to gain access to is by undoing the 6 bolts which hold the elbows and the air filter on as a single unit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Gives me all the access I need. This one might need helicopter. That felt very soggy. We'll double check that. Might not be the right length bolt. Anyway, I get these little things. I get these from Big Doug. You've seen the big Doug adverts. They just come flat pack, but they're very useful because they're soft bottomed and I can lob all the bits in them. The only disadvantage with them that I've got is that they're not watertight, so because of that, if you use it to catch liquids in, the liquids just pour straight out of the bottom. Now, I've not touched these carbs for a little while now, so we're going to see what is going on with them. This car looks like it's got a Petronics setup in it. Certainly got a flamethrower coil. I deal with so many, sometimes I forget what I'm doing. Not what I'm doing, but what I've done on a car. I've got the coat back on again. I know I look like a bin man, but it's cold today. It's not cold. I'm cold. Right, that's the right hand choke module. If you're confused about right hand and left hand on an engine or a car, the way it generally works, if you're standing behind the car looking towards the front, then your right hand is the right hand, the left hand is the left hand. If you're sitting in the driver's seat, then the right hand is the right hand, left hand is the left hand. Get my drift? So when you're facing the front of the engine, the left side of the engine is actually the right hand side of the engine. So you just use the terminology and keep it consistent. And then you never get confused. So when I'm talking about right hand carburetor, yeah, and left hand carburetor, yeah. Sorry if I'm teaching Granny to suck eggs, which is a ludicrous statement. Right, now I need to take this off here. This is the air bypass. Take that chappy off there. Now air filter should come up. There should just be one vacuum pipe, which is, oh, there's the gasket there, but we'll lose those. I have got spares of these. Now these gaskets are wet with fuel, so we've got a carburetor flooding. Take the vacuum pipe off, and then air filter can come off, complete. Go over there. That's blue air filter. Now, we've got relatively new fuel lines and so forth here. Looks like I've done these because it's got all of the clips on. I think I did do these. New hoses. All looks very nice. Viscous fan is working. If it spins more than a couple of blades, when you give it a good flick, then the viscous fan is dead. Right. Okay, now, I think what I'll do, so that rises, so both dash pots are going up nicely. There's no oil in that one, which is not going to help, nor that one. Need to talk to the customer about that. Now, what I wanted to look at was whether the choke module is automatically flying off or not, and it is. So let me bring you in closer, because this is becoming a more common fault. Choke module, left-hand carburetor, and this is the one that does the fast idle, because he was complaining about idle speed as well. Let me just take the overflow pipes off. I'm going to put you up here so you're out of the way, because I need to work two-handed on this. Right, so overflow pipes can come off. And off, and that should come off there. It's probably not going to come off there though. Let's just take that out of there and out of the way. There's no fuel in the overflow, which is good. That can come off there. Overflow pipe out of the way. I have just noticed, by the way, this breather pipe is split. Might need a new set of breathers on this. That breather pipe is split too. Don't you love modern parts? Because they're probably not that old. Now, breather pipes, we'll go over breather pipes in a second. We were talking about choke, weren't we? So when I pull the choke open, choke cable, what effectively happens is this quadrant comes round. There's a little screw down there. I don't know if you can see. Hopefully you can. Let's go in close. So I'm going to go clanky, clanky, clanky. adjusting tripod. Right, so that's the choke module there. That's the throttle there. Throttle butterfly is on this shaft here. So when I rotate this, you can see it pivoting around here. Yeah, that's the throttle. And when you pull the choke out, and this is looking a bit rogue here, what happens is this quadrant, which is part of the choke module up here, when you pull it out, you can see it pushes against that screw there and opens the throttle a tiny bit. Okay? Now what I wanted to do was to find out whether this thing is snapping back or not. If I open the throttle up, it should snap back to its rest position. And it does. It could go a bit further, but it's not horrific. So I think next thing I'll do, I think the obvious fault might be, and we can see we've been running very, very, very oily in here. Shouldn't be like that. We need to find out what's going on. We need to find out what's going on with these carbs, because they shouldn't be like that. There's a lot of soot and detritus in here. That could just be a simple case of the dash pots are empty. So I'll top the dash pots up, and I'll do a standard, just start it up and just do a standard test. I need to plug that pipe up before we do that, because that's going to allow a vacuum leak otherwise. Just put a screw in it. I'm not worrying about check this. Every time you kind of go on a decent journey, you're checking your fluids, you're checking your oil level, check these as well. And what I tend to do is to squirt the oil in until on the inside edge it is just level with the top of the dash pot. So you need to push the plunger up and down a couple of times. This is all just basic kind of like, you know, this is what they used to explain in workshop manuals. Now they tell you to avoid drinking battery acid, if you possibly can. Sorry to offend you. Back in the day, this was fairly normal routine stuff. I just need to remind my customer that this is the case. Now it could well be that the O-rings on the dash pots are at fault here, but I thought I'd replace those when I put these back together again. Right, so now we've got the dash pots done. While you both can go over here, let's move this off just in case we get any falling around. We don't want falling around. And we are in. Take it out of gear. It's in gear. Got the ignition. This breather pipe is horrendous. So as soon as I take the breather pipe off, you can see how lean it runs. It actually stalls the engine. Let me show you the breather pipe. I don't think I've got breather pipes here. I've got to order those now. I'll take this breather pipe off. This is a high quality reproduction breather pipe. Let me get those ordered now so they arrive tomorrow. Now it's running rich, but it's not running horrendously rich. We don't know how many short runs this thing's done. When they're really bad, this whole panel up here gets black. Now you can see it's got soot up here, so it has got a lot of soot and a lot of grub. Up here you can see there's a lot of exhaust kind of grub. But again, I don't know how long that's been there and when the car was last washed, whether they washed any residue off there. So I think the best thing to do with this is to put the old gas analyzer on, which I'm going to do right now. It's an ancient bit of kit this, but it works absolutely beautifully. So let me get it set up and I'll talk you through it. The old Hawk's broken. Plug the mains in. So plug the mains in. Plug the device in and it does nothing. Same cable on me other Hawk, because you can never have too many of these things. That works beautifully. I'm going to find out what's gone wrong with that. That's disappointing. Trusty old CO meter that I've got. Oh dear. Never rains, it pours. Right. Now, with this particular device, it's American, first and foremost, so everything needs to be more complicated than it perhaps needs to be. But now that's not fair, actually. I salute you Americans for making this thing, because it is actually very, very good. Now, the midget just sailed through on its emissions, but the airflow meter, the meter that I was using on it was the one that's just broken. And I thought I was setting it to 2.5% CO, and it was actually 1.9% CO. 0.5% on CO is quite a lot. Anyway, so we'll plug in the two devices, and what we need to do is let this device warm up for a minute or two, and then we need to calibrate it. So at the moment we're on calibration, so I'm just going to let it warm up, and then I can balance it and get it all set up. But it's fairly straightforward. I've got all the instructions for this, but I'm used to it now. So you really just kind of have to just set two settings on it, and then you're away. Start the engine up, warm it through, and it gives you the amount of emissions that are coming out. Very, very basic device. I'm not going to use anywhere near all of this kind of top settings. All I'm really interested in is the carbon monoxide setting. Okay, that is pretty much about it. It's the bottom gauge down there, and I really want this to be around the 4% CO mark, so it'll give us an indication about how rich or how lean we're actually running. Okay. So, and if we are running too rich, then there are a number of areas on the carburetors that I can look at, because the carburetor piston check would appear to be working. It could be there's a fault with the choke modules, the cold start modules, or it could be a fault with the breather pipes causing an excessively lean mixture. Right, so the carbs were running rich when I got the Hawk and everything all connected up, and I didn't video it. Maybe I'll video it tomorrow when I do it again. But it was running at about 7.5% CO. I was unable to turn it down because the dash pots were sticky inside the dash tops. So let's get one over here. I get a dash top and a dashed piston, and I put you on the tripod. Almost tidied the bench, or tidied the square on the bench. Now, what was happening, ignore this diaphragm, this is a scrap diaphragm. What was happening was there was an issue with the interface between the dash pot and the piston. You can see that does go down nice and smoothly. Now on one of the carbs, on the customer's car, that wasn't going down smoothly. So I cleaned up the outside face here with some 800 grip. And there are some scratches on this one, you can see them there. Big scratches. And it's possibly because the carb has been run dry, I don't know. And then also cleaned up the inside, loads of carb cleaner on the inside, and got it so that in fact, if I spray some carb cleaner in here now, and instantly that becomes smoother, but you can still hear it. Oh, there we are. That's what you really kind of want it like. And the customers' ones were not like that. So that's the first thing I found. Second thing I found was where the piston goes in the top here. So using this bit, have I got a piston? Oh, yes, I have. There's one there. When I was pushing the piston up and down inside here, this one's beautiful. There was a ridge about there on the inside caused by the style washer. Bit of emery paper down the inside of the tube here. I carefully worked it out, and then I was able then to just kind of drop the piston in and out. The problem that you end up with if you're not careful is with that screwed in to the top here. This isn't the customer's piston or dashpot here. That on there, the combination of the two, that being tight in there and the piston being tight inside the piston, the damper being tight inside the piston, meant that it was just hanging up very, very, very slightly, very, very, very lightly. So the way it is now, I've got them so that if I push that up, this is fucking hung up then. They're better. Now, I have tuned this thing to 3.5% CO. I can't get it to idle nicely. And I think I can't get it to idle nicely because of the state of these breather pipes, which are fucked. So I've ordered another set. They haven't arrived yet. So hopefully they'll arrive in the morning and I'll be able to put those straight on. But running a world better, which is good news because it needs to. Nice engine, this one as well. Very nice. Right, it's towards the end of February. Temperature is dropping like a bloody stone. I'm packing up and going home. That rhymed. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it.